I think our society is addicted to urgency.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be there for those people and help them, because the product's the product, that this is the that. But like, hey man, I need you.
Hands up, heads down, shake it off, turn around. We're kicking dirt, we're gaining ground. We do it right, do it here right now.
Chris Watt, Mutual of Omaha, welcome to Super Trooper.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here and very impressed with your logo.
Yeah, this is the brand new Super Trooper logo, hot off the press. Or is it off the presses? Hot off the press, singular.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put...
You don't need multiple.
We don't need multiple
Super
presses.
Trooper.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, there aren't any presses anymore either. But we digress. Chris Watt, we've known each other for a long time.
I'd say over 20 years.
So can we remember... We have not rehearsed this.
Mm-mm.
When is the first time we met? Like, I'm trying to think the first time I would have laid eyes on Chris Watt.
Well, you know, when you were part of Northwestern
Mutual, yep.
I guarantee we met passing.
Right.
Richie, you, the whole thing.
Yep.
Probably solidified our relationship more when you went to Valent.
Yep. So we probably met around 2003-ish?
Yeah.
Wow, 20 years.
That's what I'm saying. And first trip we probably took together was the Masters.
Before the Masters, I believe, was the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Oh, that's
trip.
Right.
You know, that's a good story. Let me tell this story. I don't know if you were... Oh, boo.
So, closer?
No.
It's okay. Y'all both kind of leaned over. I still got it. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
You know what? We'll just keep going. Britt, just include that. Okay. We're just going to include that in this show. This is perfect. So, Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yep.
We had sold our agency to Valent. It was called SS Nesbitt at the time.
Yeah, well,
I took over as practice leader there. And you invited me to this private event to drive race cars at the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
okay, hold on. I tell this story all the time,
Okay.
but I forgot you were there.
Oh, thanks.
But not in a bad way.
Well, I think there's no good way that you forgot I was there. There's no good way.
Well, no, because you were such a good driver compared to all the other people. We had people getting out of the cars because they couldn't handle it.
Yeah,
that's
they
when
just
Mario
stopped.
Andretti was there and took Ryan Rutherford around the track in his rental car.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember this part of the story.
Okay.
So I was driving over, and not that you might not give good instructions or something and be a little disorganized sometimes, but I had these vague instructions on how to get inside the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And you were in there, and whatever room you were in, you were not getting texts. So I was trying to get in. I was late. I finally figured out a way. I drove all the way around the track, not around the track, around the stadium, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Finally found my way in.
Yep.
I'm about 15 minutes late. I walk in, everybody's already in their suits, and there's this older gentleman in front of the room. And he said, "You must be Mr. Smith," in an accent. And I was like, "I am." He's like, "Well, welcome. We're glad you could make it." And I sat down beside you, and he started talking, and I kind of looked at him, and you leaned over and you were like, "That's Mario Andretti." I'm like, "That's Mario? I just got scolded by Mario Andretti for being late?" I still talk about that as maybe the single best experience I've had in our industry. And this industry allows a lot of cool stuff to happen.
And I would tell you, Mutual of Omaha does a good job of making these memorable. So this is great plug for that, because we try to do events similar to True to enhance partnerships and relationships. So you now remember something that has happened that long ago.
Yeah.
How about when we went to dinner with Mario afterwards?
So I don't know if you remember this. I can't believe you did not remember I was there. So well,
at least I'm honest.
Yeah, that you are. I think we have that kind of relationship.
Yeah,
we don't
do.
have to pretend.
We do.
So just so the listeners or watchers know, so I didn't know what was going on. I had to go put on a suit. I assumed there were these tandem cars that we're just going to be ridden, like I'll get in the back and I'll ride around.
Yep.
And so I missed the whole safety thing. And they're like, no, you're driving. I'm like, I'm driving? Like, yeah. Like, in a car by myself? I'm like, yeah. I was like, how fast are we going to go? And I don't remember the number. It was something like, there's a governor on it. I think it tops out like 165 or 170.
Yeah. Actually, you can go 180. But remember, you went around a few times.
Yes.
And then they took the governor off and like lightened it up. But remember, you had that headset. And they were like, I don't know what yours was saying, but my guy's like, the yellow line is not what you're driving along. You will wreck if you go on the yellow line, because remember, it's a curved track.
Yeah.
But they told you, I couldn't get over this. Just when you're on a turn, floor it.
Yes.
And the G-force just takes you around. I had the biggest bruise. It was embarrassing, actually.
Well, so we went, and I think maybe I'm only one other person. There might have been 8 or 10 people there.
Yeah, not many.
It was very small. What would happen is that you could get right up to the governor, but if you went too past it would kind of like,
Yep.
And we just kept passing people.
Yeah.
Because they were scared to go fast.
Yep.
But you would come up on someone. First of all, I can't believe they let this happen. So there were 2 or 3 cars on the track at the same time. You would come up on a turn on someone, and the person, the spotter in the car in front of me would say, okay, I need you to move up.
Yep.
And my spotter would say, okay, pass him on the low side. I was like, this. And you would pass them, and all I could think about was, imagine these folks within the Indy cars going 215, 20 miles an hour, 3 wide. How in the world they do that? I have no idea how they do that.
No. They're truly athletes.
Yeah.
Which we're not.
No. Well, I mean,
kind of.
I was once an athlete.
Yeah. And
2 Achilles ago.
But I will tell you, so you were out there when Ryan Rutherford rode in the car with Mario Andretti.
Yeah, just like in the stock car, like in the whatever that.
No, he rode in his rental car.
Like a rental car.
It was his rental car.
Okay, I didn't know that.
It was his rental car. So he goes back, because Ryan Rutherford, amazing boss, love the guy as a friend, everything. 6'7".
Yeah,
cannot fit in these cars.
Right.
Mario knew that. Took him back. Took him in his Chrysler 3000 rental car. And we just look on the track, and he's going around the track. Ryan tells me later that he said, Mario Andretti said, we got to get this car back in because my tires are melting. Because the tires that they're using are not. And he's like, we got to get this back in.
Oh.
And Ryan, he's scared.
Oh, sure.
But he's got Mario Andretti. So he's not really that scared.
Yeah.
But you know what? I was so fortunate that we got to do that event. And did you get the GoPro? Like, I haven't even, like, there was a video that we got.
I've got it. I still have it. It's on a, it's on like a weird,
like a little disc.
Like a little disc.
Yeah.
So the dinner. So we went. Yeah. Then we got to go shower at the hotel. Then we had a private dinner with Mario, with which he told stories. It was, but also his photographer, agent, assistant, PR person. They were there.
Yeah.
We're going to come full circle to something we talked about yesterday playing golf.
Okay.
Because we're in the Matrix. This is how another reason 4,000 we're in the Matrix. So I'm sitting across from his PR person who had been with Mario like 30 years or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're talking, and all of a sudden he makes a grand gesture and spills his red wine all over me.
I remember that now.
All over me. And was so apologetic. And I remember thinking, well, this is kind of cool. I just, got spilled. And he later sent me a big box with a nice note, like a couple of bottles of Mario Andretti's wine and a shirt. But what he said was, if you ever want to come up and play at our club, Oakland Hills is what he's a member of. Or the same course that Lou, your buddy, is a member of.
You're kidding.
Near Detroit.
Oakland Hills.
Oakland Hills. So I wonder if first of all, don't know if he's still alive. He was elderly. I'm like, hey, you may not remember this, but 17 years ago, you promised to go play golf. Maybe we could play golf with he and Lou.
And me.
And you, Oakland Hills foursome. I'm just saying, that just came back to me.
Well, why wouldn't we tell Lou that?
Yep. So we're going to have to track down who this guy is.
Yeah.
And say, by the way, you promised me 17 years ago that I could come up and play. Could you spill red wine on me? I don't know if you remember that or not.
I love it.
So
I love it.
We've established when we met. And then we just developed a friendship.
We did?
This is interesting. we were talking about this the other day. My son Carson, for the first time, he interned with us at True. He's back at the University of Alabama now.
And you'd say Roll Tide, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would say Roll Tide.
Yeah.
You don't have to not say it though. Just because you're a Hoosier, you don't have an allegiance to any.
Well, I kind of do. My wife Erin went to Georgia, so
You
they
actually like Georgia?
well they call me a stray dog.
Okay.
So I'm not a true Georgia fan.
Actually, pretty appropriate.
It is kind of. I was like, how? Where'd you guys come up with that? But with the phrase "stray dog," but they're like, yeah, you're not a fan, but you are a fan. And I'll tell you, we were at the national championship in Indy, where I'm from.
Yeah.
Took him to the Slippery Noodle, oldest bar in the state of Indiana.
Okay.
Best tenderloin sandwich you've ever had. Southern food is phenomenal. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love the meat and threes. Love all that.
I know you're not going to say something good about Midwestern food right now.
I am.
Okay.
The tenderloin. A patty, like a normal tenderloin, but in Indiana, they smash it so the patty's like this big on a bun this big. So when you pick it up, it's huge. My buddies had never had. They also wanted to bring all their tailgating stuff up.
Yes.
FYI, it's 9 degrees in Indiana. I said, we're not tailgating. But we can get up in a bar,
Right.
right? And I'll tell you, I ran into a ton of brokers from Alabama who were actually there.
Right.
Chatting, conversing. And then we go to the game. I knew the game was over.
Yeah.
They didn't. A lot of scars on the Georgia football team,
Yeah.
like fans.
Yeah.
Right. But it was an amazing, so glad I got to go to the national championship in my home state. And that's another thing, these trips we're talking about, I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of national championships.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this I'm going to come back to the intern Carson Smith.
Okay. Sorry. Yes. Go ahead.
But actually, it all ties together because my son Carson is 21,
Yep.
junior at Alabama.
Yep.
Has really not known what he wants to do with his life. I'm using quotes, the air quotes there, because who does? But he interned, and for the first time, he came to me and said, I think I could be a group rep. I'm like, what do you know about that? He said, well, I was talking to Scott Patterson, True COO, and he and his friend Mark were interns this summer. We're just going to talking about jobs and our plans, and he's like, I think like half the job of a group rep is to get people to like you, like to get brokers to like you. And I'm for sure capable of that. And I was like, well, that's probably half of it. Sure.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting that, well, this is where I was going with that. We developed a friendship.
Yep.
We were doing work together.
Yeah.
And writing business. But when people have asked me, when I started True, and we have these, we have, I think, 6 ancillary carrier partners now.
Yeah.
And we're constantly talking to those folks around how do reps build deeper relationships with brokers. And I go back to my best relationships, which would be you, a guy named Ron Yabrudi, who's not in the business anymore, but he was with Prudential the majority of his career, and then Guardian.
Yep. What is he doing now? Retired?
As an investor.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
They're very close friends. So Aaron, shout out to the Yabrudis. Aaron Yabrudi has a wife, same name.
Aaron Watt.
Matrix. Okay.
Matrix. And this is crazy.
Both of my favorite group reps, by the way, I'm sure I'm forgetting some favorites, but the ones I remember right now are you and Ron.
Yeah.
Both of you have a wife named Erin. So she's one of the more successful realtors in Atlanta. Like legitimately.
Okay. I didn't know
all
that.
of Atlanta.
Okay.
But primarily, I think she started in the Ansley Park area.
Yeah.
And then like dominated that, and then has now kind of broadened her empire. So he is investing, doing some venture capital stuff. They have a bunch of kids, and so they still have 2 kids. 1 kid out of college, 1 kid in college, and 2 still at home.
Wow.
Busy life. But anyway, not only did I develop friendships with you, you also both helped me win business and be better. So without both, it doesn't work. You can't just be Mr. Gregarious out there with open bar tabs.
No, we do love doing that.
But it's a big part of it.
Yes.
It's actually a bigger part of True now because I love it every time you open up a bar tab. Shout out to Mutual of Omaha for approving the expense reports.
Thank you, Megan.
And Nicole. But that's an interesting dynamic around how long have you been with Mutual of Omaha?
22 years.
That's amazing for
One carrier.
a group rep to that's amazing.
Well, thank you. I think it speaks a lot to my Midwestern roots of loyalty, commitment, but believing in the leadership.
Right.
Shout out Scott Alt.
I don't think there's anybody better in the country at running a group operation than Scott.
No. And he was and that's what every one of the upper management within Mutual has been, a group rep. So when they're now in looking at processes and things, they're still fighting for the group rep. And I will tell you this, which your son Carson's already picked up on. If he's eager, he has a positive attitude, and he wants to win, and he understands he just needs to be responsive, treat it like a friendship. Like I think you mentioned this yesterday. We were out playing golf, and you're like, hey, I got to get to some of these calls because I need to. It's responsiveness, right? He can't offer the education and the back end education, but if you can trust him, the other stuff will come. So it is a 50-50 split, but I don't know. And as a broker, when you were back in that time, wouldn't you say it's more like 85-15, the relationship, the partnership?
Yeah, it's interesting. Probably not.
You think it's 50-50?
Yeah, it's 50-50. I think in the beginning there has to be, I like this person. You pass the likability test.
Yep.
But do they really know their stuff?
Yeah. Like what value can you add?
Right.
But like as a new rep, you can't even give CE. You can't even do that till you've been a rep for 5 years.
Yeah.
So, and I think we talked about it, our training program and the things we do for someone like Carson is a great opportunity because he gets a year to learn it, do it, master it, but it's still a friendship and a partnership and a deliverable.
Yeah. It's such a relationship business.
It is.
Now you and I both know reps who are incredibly nerdy, in the weeds, and they're still successful.
Yeah.
And that's around authenticity. They just leaned into who they are. They're like, I'm not going to try to be your buddy. I can't be Chris. I can't be whoever.
No. I'm
just going to be the smartest person you've ever known, and I'm going to be the most dependable person and the most responsible person. I'm going to help you win business. There's lots of ways to do it. Jumping back into, so we met, we became friends, we did cool stuff together, we wrote a bunch of business. And then what happened next in our, True, yeah.
I mean, True plug, Super Trooper.
Yeah.
True happened. And, I think it was very easy for me to go to the Ryan Rutherfords and Rob Lotts as I've got a friend who's starting something. Let's just listen and figure it out, right? And trust his process with what we can do and what now you're 82 firms or whatever between the whole thing and the book of business and the growth and the national partnerships that we do. They say there's nothing like True, and there's not, but it's because of the culture and stuff that you've integrated. And that's why I like to work at Mutual Omaha, because of the partnership I have with my boss and his boss and Scott Alt, and I can call Scott and Scott calls me and wants to know how I'm doing. Same way you're doing with your partners and your firms.
Yep.
Right. So it is really a friendship.
It is.
In a partnership. And to your point, I do have brokers that I work with that really don't know me super well. But I think we talked about this yesterday. Likability you can't teach.
You can't. I do that all the time in sales training. It's the only thing you can't teach.
Yeah.
Rob Lott was at Prudential too for a while, right?
He was at Reliance Standard.
I connected with Rob at some point previously in my career because I think he had some sort of familiarity, at least with my name, when we went into the, I can remember our initial meeting with Ryan. Like we went into your Mutual Omaha office to talk to him about what we were doing.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing how the relationship has developed.
It has.
It really is a testament to, I made a LinkedIn post, recently that I would crawl across broken glass for you and Megan and Nicole. And it really extends to Ryan and Rob and Scott Alt too, for kind of believing in like every step of the way.
Yeah.
And it's still we still have so much untapped potential. Yeah. That's what's crazy.
But you're also understanding of the situation of it's a partnership and we got to all try to win with the partnership. And we're trying to help you trying to help your brokers, trying to help True, trying to help pay, whatever that is part of it. But sometimes you're rewarded when you are a partner.
Some of the things we do, this is a little weedy for the listeners. It's getting the benefit stuff, but sometimes I'm a little naive because I'm interested in True helping write profitable business for our carrier partners. That just seems natural. Like, why would we not? But then I talk to the management of these firms, and they're like, we don't get that very much. I'm like, well, why not? Because I want every year I want to be talking to you or Scott or Rob, and they're like, I can't believe what's happening. Yeah. Like, how can we help True more?
Like, isn't that a better conversation than, hey, we need to talk about your persistency?
That's exactly.
And I'll tell you, credit to a lot of what we're doing, Megan, Nicole, their team is getting with Scotty P and those people and saying persistency for partners is 90% or above.
Yep.
Right? Like, and as a broker, you've got an annuity. Why wouldn't you want your business to be at plus 90%?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? All the changing costs and things like that. All right, I'm going to have a hard switch to the conversation.
Okay.
So we've gotten all the way to the True relationship. Let's go back to Chris Watt.
Okay. As a baby?
Where were you born?
I was born in Greenwood, Indiana. Small little town south of Indianapolis.
Okay.
My mom, Phyllis, was from Paris, Kentucky. And my dad, Bob, we could tangent on that if you want about the name, but Niagara Falls, New York.
Yes.
They met at Purdue.
Boilermakers.
Hoosier, Boilermaker. As you can see, Dad, Chris.
Yeah.
Right? So grew up there and graduated from Indiana University, 1989.
That's when you graduated?
High school,
yeah. So
93.
I'm a year older than you.
I'm 52. You're 53?
Yeah, I'm 53. I'm older. You're always going to be younger. This is a random question.
Okay.
Britt, let's try to remember to ask these questions. What were your grandparents' first names?
Oh, gosh. On which side?
Just whatever you can remember.
Bob.
Okay.
And, oh my gosh, what was Grandma? His sister was Marcia. Helen.
Okay.
Bob and Helen. And then on my other side of the family, it was Bob, Robert, Boaz, and Nancy, Boaz. So that's my mom's side.
Okay.
But interesting fact. I mean, I don't know. I guess you wanted interesting stuff for the listeners. So when I was in college, I took a class, and part of our assignment was tracing your family tree.
Okay.
I, as a college student, was very worried about my hair.
Okay.
Losing it.
Well, it's okay.
It's there.
It turned out fine.
Okay. But you get your hairline from your mom's father.
Right.
I found out when I was in college that my grandfather was not my biological grandfather.
Oh.
Because I was worried about my hair.
Right.
Sorry, selfish plug. But
right.
That's how. But then the whole story came out of how it was just mind blowing and weird. But still, Robert, Nancy.
Here's what I was hoping.
No.
That's not a word. Here's what I was hoping would happen is that they're all grandparents. These old names aren't used anymore.
No, Helen.
Helen's really not. But sometimes you get, especially when you said Paris, Kentucky, I thought I was going to get some really cool grandparent names. I got kind of standard. It's okay. It's all right. Like mine were Charles C. was my grandmother.
Charles C.
And Bob, ironically, was my Sonny. And then on my dad's side, Cora and Clifton. So that's the kind of like names that are just people don't use anymore.
They don't. But my first name's Robert, not Chris.
Can I call you Bobby from now on?
No.
Okay.
No. But my mom did not want me to be known as a Robert. If I was a Robert William, I'd have been like Robert William Watt the fourth.
Right.
But you could have called me like, what do they call the fourth? And the fifth they call, it's something. Like third is Trey, quattro, quad. I don't know.
What would you call the fourth? So you're a fourth?
No, I'm not, because my middle name's Chris.
Oh, gotcha.
But I didn't, but my mom, so my mom's mom and dad wanted to call me RC. You remember me and my RC?
Yeah.
Me and my RC.
And that's a Southern. You would have fit right in.
Now
if you
I'm
would have been
thinking about
RC
it,
Watt.
I would have been crushing it with RC.
You would have been a totally different person.
You
would have. If your name would have been RC Watt, you would be totally different. I really believe that.
Okay. Well, could we start at 52 and then we just...
I think you could. I think RC Watt wears a hat. I do think that.
Always.
I think you're a hat guy.
Trucker hat.
No, like a fedora, or like you're like a hat guy.
I love hats.
Right.
I do love hats.
Well, RC, we could come up with a total alter ego of RC Watt. Man, that is
plug for another.
That is for sure. Okay, so Indiana, you go to Indiana
University.
How do you get to Atlanta?
Great question. So I have a triple major, which probably shocks people because I don't look like an educated individual.
Did you want to stay in school longer?
No.
Okay.
HR, management, psychology.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, really.
Seriously. He's smart too. But so in that, James Winbush was my human resource godfather guru.
Okay.
So he's like, what you really want to do is make sure you get a job out of college. I said, okay. So I actively interviewed. Well, Kokomo, Indiana, which is just north, had a company called Syndicate Sales. Okay. Syndicate Sales. So most people have either are married, have been married, or want to get married. Down the middle of the wedding is what's called a wedding aisle runner. It's got like a string and it just kind of goes down. We made those.
Okay.
You know the block foam that goes in plants?
Yes.
Made that.
Okay.
Little water picks that go on the bottom of the roses that you get in those little, made those.
Okay.
Union, non-union, had an older HR person, hired me to come in and change the company culture. Now I know 21-year-old Chris Watt is scary that I'm going to be changing the culture of a company, but that was my job, was what I was supposed to do. So I started out in HR. My best friend, shout out Mike Chambers, longest friend.
Yeah. You don't want to offend any other best friends.
No, I have a lot of best friends. My daughters, I'm trying to teach them that too. You can have a lot of besties. Sent me the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, signed me up for it. It was delivered to my house for getting a job in Atlanta because he's like, you got to move down here. This is the time. 1996. What happened in 1996 in Atlanta?
Olympics.
I
was living there in Atlanta in 96.
Matrix.
So
when I moved to Atlanta, guess the population in Atlanta, Metro, 1996.
1.7 million.
Did you?
I live there.
Yeah, 1.75. But now, Metro Atlanta, over 8 million.
That's crazy. 8?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So when I moved there, moved there, went to a Braves game in the old stadium, Fulton County. It rained every day. I was like, Mike, why do I want to move here? It rains every day. He's like, opportunity. So I went back, I thought about it. I thought, I'm 23. I can be an HR manager when I'm 90. I'm not going to make income like I want. I think I was, at that time, people told me I'd be a great game show host. Could be good at sales, but I had no sales training. Knew nothing. Hired my replacement, moved without a job.
Oh, moved without a job?
Without a job.
Wow. Okay. First, so where was your first apartment? I'm assuming you moved in an apartment somewhere
in Kokomo?
No, in Atlanta.
Oh, in Atlanta. Yeah, in Alpharetta. Champions Green Apartments off exit number 7 in off 400.
That was in 96?
Yeah.
Okay, because I lived in Tucker in 96.
Tucker. Nothing. There wasn't much in Tucker.
Arbor Trace, like Mountain Industrial and Rockbridge Road.
I know where that is, but
I bet the apartments are still there.
I should drive by it.
They're probably not called Arbor Trace anymore.
Right. Big complex. So Champions Green was named after all the races. Saratoga, Preakness. We lived in Preakness.
Gotcha. So you kind of stayed in the Alpharetta area your whole time? No?
No.
Okay.
Started Alpharetta.
Yes.
Stayed up there. Met my wife.
Oh, we'll come back
Erin,
to that.
Moved. Funny story on that one.
Yeah.
Moved to, we're talking about landmarks, Atlanta. I know you know where the Claremont Lounge is.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So Claremont Lounge, but a little bit past that, there was a biker bar. And on that street, there was just like shotgun-y type homes.
I remember it very well.
Aaron and I lived in a shotgun home, a duplex there. One bathroom, one bedroom. The bathroom and bedroom are at the end. So whenever someone came into our house, they had to go all the way through our house to get to the bathroom. And my wife, Erin, love her family. They're entertainers. They love to host parties and do things like that. And so we did a lot of that. But the story I was going to tell you was, we're pretty trusting people, but you know, that part of town maybe not so always should be so trusting.
That's a little bit of a shady part of town.
Right. So we were in a duplex and there was someone moving in the other home and they got our place mixed up with their place. And it was a very large man. And he opened the door and went, ah! And my wife went, ah! And then he bolted out. And she's like, don't know how much longer we should live here.
Right.
Right. So then we moved in Morningside and lived in a small home in Morningside. And we lived there for a while. And then we had our first child, Natalie, in 2009. And we had a dog named Brutus. And we lived on a very busy street. And we just, some things happened with our dog and he got hit. And it just made us really think about where we were and what we were doing. And the city's growing and we're not really using it because we have a young child, and we'd remodeled our house and it was amazing and all this. And Erin, from Roswell, parents still live in Roswell, never thought she would live north of Roswell. We put our house on the market, sold it in like 5 hours. And then we didn't have a house, so we started looking. And then now we live up in Alpharetta.
So let's jump backwards. I like how we're filling in the gaps here. We've got some pictures to show, by the way. People need to hang around if they're watching and not just listening. So when did you meet Erin? Because I'm pretty confident it was not like love at first sight.
Not at all.
Right.
For her, she's beautiful, so who wouldn't be enamored with her? But for me, right? So I didn't get married till I was 35. Erin was 27.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of an age discrepancy, in a good way.
Well, you needed all the time to mature possible.
I did. Yes. I've told many people at age 30, not marriage material. But very trusting, very loyal. Met her through a mutual friend named Sarah Simmons. And she is now a chef and lives in Charleston. And Sarah kept saying how amazing I am.
Okay.
And so picture a sports bar on a Saturday, and I've been there since noon.
What time is it? You've been there since noon?
It's like 9.
Is it 9 p.m.?
9 p.m.
Okay.
Ish. And she walks in with her sister Dana. Shout out Dana Spinola.
Oh, yeah.
Dana Williams.
Yep.
Owns Fabric. Great clothing store. And they walked in, and Sarah's like, hey, Chris, Erin and Dana are here. And I went like this. Hey. Not a good impression.
Not a good, no.
We met at another time, similar, and I was a little bit more engaging, but not overly engaging. And she was dating somebody at the time. I was not really dating anybody at the time. And so then a few months went by. They had a party, which was I always get this, Emmy or Grammy, which one of them's in January. Emmys, I think, or whatever.
Okay.
And at Sarah's house. So we went, Erin and I bonded, talked, had it, loved each other, conversation. And then we started dating. And then, 3 months into that, our relationship, her mom was hosting Dana getting married at that time. And I will never forget the conversation I had with my mother-in-law at that time. I love my mother-in-law, amazing lady, Ann Williams. She said, hey, we like you and our daughter, and we could see you getting married one day. But
I was waiting for the but.
You got to stay in Georgia.
Oh.
We're great family.
Right.
Never really wanted to move out of Georgia.
Sure.
So kind of like in my head, I was like, well, that's a checklist. I don't have to do anything with that. But the bond and just the whole Williams family, Myatt, great guy, awesome dude. My father-in-law, hang out with him, go to beach with just him. He and I play bocce, all that kind of stuff. He comes from like a family of 6 or 7. She comes from a family of 5.
Yeah. So
Close knit, all live together, close. Aaron's brother Sean lives right up the street. We all live there. So easy to do. But they're very hands-on and they're very artistic. I'm not.
yeah.
I'm a sales guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. They probably need to be entertained sometimes too.
Hey, you know what the theme of our wedding was?
You got a theme of the wedding?
Well, we had cocktails obviously before the wedding
Okay.
at my in-laws' house.
Okay.
Very relaxed atmosphere. Remember, I'm 35. I'm
Right.
like, the minister said art and insurance. Because my wife used to work for her father, Myatt, who's
Right.
a professional framer and has been for 42 years.
Right.
So that's the art, and then I'm the insurance and how they kind of mesh together. And it was amazing.
You know what? Speaking of amazing, Britt, let's look at some pictures. Let's look at family pictures.
Oh,
Okay,
there's
so
Aaron.
there we are.
So you can see, very much, she's beautiful and very much maybe blind to say that she was going to marry me. I don't know. She's an amazing lady.
I would say this is what's crazy. I've never met Erin in all our years of friendship.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's happened.
Well, it needs to happen though.
It does.
Okay.
I would say probably patient. She has to be a very patient person.
Unbelievably patient.
Yeah.
Yes. And an amazing role model for my 2 daughters,
Yes.
Natalie and Nicole.
Let's look at some other. Where's that picture? Where's this picture, by the way? Where's that picture with the cocktails?
Where is that?
Yeah.
That was on our trip to Savannah,
Oh, okay.
like 2 weeks ago.
This is like the Savannah Banana story, maybe a little bit later too.
Savannah Bananas, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Pay the ticket price. It's worth it.
Big part of our network now is our relationship with Jesse Cole and Savannah Bananas. He's spoken to us a couple times.
Great guy.
I try not to abuse having his cell phone number and texting him because I want to text him all the time, and I just try not to abuse that.
And I will tell you, very engaged with his program when you're there. He's actually hands-on in the whole stuff.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, next picture. Oh, another. Is this Savannah too?
Same trip.
Same trip?
Yeah. Aaron has an eye for photography. You probably can't tell with the graininess of this one because that was my phone sending it over to Britt. But she is very good at photography and catching moments and memories, which is great. The other side note with her, she used to do CD music mixes. They called her E-Mix.
Oh.
And she was huge into rap.
No.
Yes. Like some people don't know you used to break dance.
Right.
E-Mix.
So does
E-Mix. She could still do it, but we have a lot of other things going on. But my daughters have her ear for music.
Right.
And now you got TikTok and this and that and all the other stuff.
So let me go back to this.
Okay.
I mean, you talk about Erin all the time, about how wonderful she is, all that kind of fun stuff. So, because I kind of feel like I know her,
Yeah.
and her patience and kindness and concern for you and all that kind of fun stuff. Like, I never would have imagined that she was a fan of hip hop and R&B. I would assume.
And
too.
dude, she's got stories that she could tell you of concerts she's went to.
What if we were at some of the same concerts and didn't know it? Matrix
would be. You probably were.
All right, Erin. Easy first conversation we have when we meet. We're just going to talk about hip hop and R&B music.
It's so easy.
Yeah. Okay. Next picture. Oh, now we have the full crew.
Yep. So that's Aaron, obviously.
Yep.
That's Natalie, my oldest. She's 13. Myself. And then Nicole, who's 10.
13 and 10-year-old. Man, you're about to go into middle school with 2 girls. That's just one of the hardest times for girls.
And they're amazing young ladies. And Aaron has done a great job of instilling them confidence. And that's what we want our daughters to be confident in.
Do you know one of the good things about being a little older as a parent, as you are? I would be a way better parent today to my younger kids, just because you've just been around longer. A little wisdom, I think is an advantage.
There is, except I'll probably be in a wheelchair when they're in college because I'll be 70 years old. But
that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I think do we have more pictures of family? Oh, this is just you.
That's just me. This summer, we took our first trip as only us. My wife, 2 daughters, our dog Bear,
Right.
and me.
Because you've always gone with family.
We've always gone with family or friends
Right.
to the beach.
So first beach trip with just you
And look
four.
at my can.
And you're a happy dad.
Happy dad. Like, it was a great time, great moment. Yeah, I think we're good on time.
We're good. We're great on time. We do have to get Chris back to Atlanta to make a softball.
Yeah.
Is it a game or a practice?
My oldest daughter is on the Cambridge softball feeder team, which is basically 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that are wanting to try to become a high school player.
Right.
And very proud of her. Natalie, shout out. Awesome job. And Nicole, both same. But yeah, I've tried to commit to them that I would be at all their games as much as possible.
That's a great dad. It's a happy dad.
Happy Dad.
Yeah.
It's a great can. You need a 6-pack of Happy Dad.
Okay. Yeah. I'm up. Just send it my way.
Okay.
So let's go back in time a little bit. We're going to get family and work in here. So what's the first job you took in Atlanta after you moved?
It's kind of a toss-up because I knew in my career, which only being like 2 years or 3 years,
Right.
I needed benefits. So what's one of the largest operations in Atlanta?
Coca-Cola?
Coca-Cola is a good one. UPS.
UPS.
So I went to UPS because I could work in semi-trailers from 5 to 10 every night and get benefits. But my goal, Scott, was to be the HR director at UPS.
At UPS.
Obviously, that did not work out.
No, that didn't happen.
And I can tell you why that did not work out. It's a long path to get there. But I had an epiphany. So I was doing that. I was working at a liquor store. And I was also doing knockout work for my uncle. 3 jobs.
Okay.
I was in the back of a semi, 9:30 at night. Same, every night this truck came in, it was a Dalton carpet truck. So just stacks of carpet. Take it, put it on, take it. I was in I looked good at that point. I was in great shape. And he comes into the truck and he's like, hey, tomorrow is, and it's a college type, it's called Freaknik. Do you remember?
I knew so I got stuck in the first Freaknik.
Okay.
In the traffic.
Okay.
Like I was trapped in the
Okay,
first
so Freaknik.
Because it was a surprise. Nobody really knew it was going to happen.
No, and it's more of a, for colleges, for black colleges.
Yes, it's historical black colleges.
And there's a lot of them in Atlanta, and they come to, hey, we're going to do these programs, come have it. But then it turns into a big, huge party.
Yes.
But everyone in my we had 10 trailer aisles, was going to Freaknik the next night. This is on a Thursday. Comes to me, and they said, hey, don't come to work tomorrow, because none of us are. And I was like, surely they jest.
Yes, right.
They were not, including the manager of the department. So I showed up. All the trucks were there. Another guy from another place came and said, look, I know it's going to be a rough night for you. Do the best you can. So I'm in that Dalton carpet truck.
Yeah.
And I said, I have a triple major. Why am I doing this? So I went to my good buddy, Mike, and said, I got to get in benefits. I got to get back into benefits. No sales training though. So funny matrix, back into our conversation yesterday. What did I tell you my first sales job was? What was I selling?
I do not remember.
Long
distance. Yes, you were selling long distance.
Shout out all you young people out there have no idea that you used to have to pay for long distance on your phone. It didn't come with it.
They may not even know what long distance is. Like, what is long distance? I mean, think about it. They probably like, what do you mean long distance?
It blows my mind. I told my daughters, they're like, what do you mean? I just pick my phone up and I make phone calls. I'm like, well, it didn't used to be that way.
If you called outside your calling area, you had to pay for it.
Yeah. So I trained in Rochester, New York with a company called Frontier Communications, 2-week sales training. I learned the word no. I learned the word that if you're successful 10% of the time, you're going to be a great success. And I have amazing, great stories about Southern businesses that shoot every third salesman and how to get in with those in a full suit.
Yeah.
50 to 60 calls a day. So I did all that. And I was like, it's got to be something else.
Yeah.
So then my first job, the sales guy at that company, Syndicate Sales, needed a sales rep. So I did sales in the whole Southeast, selling Christmas trees and things like that to floral companies for a while. And then a job opportunity came for me to become a broker.
Okay.
So Sumitomo Life Insurance Agency.
Say what?
Oh yeah, Sumitomo Life.
Sumitomo?
Sumitomo is also a bank, a big conglomerate.
Okay.
So they would fund these new companies that come over to the United States. And they needed so what do? They hire an HR person. The HR person is not usually that descent. They're usually man or woman in America that understands the benefits we have here.
Mm-hmm.
So we developed get the relationship, get the key to the door through, we funded your tire company, meet with the Japanese management. Japanese management says, you're going to meet with Chris. A lot of meetings that I had were not good because they were like, I'm the HR person. I decide who I meet with.
Mm-hmm.
But the Japanese guy told me I got to meet with Chris.
Yeah.
So I did that 2 or 3 years. So that's how I understand all the benefits, spreadsheeting for the account. I know what they go through.
Yeah.
So I can empathize with that. While in that job, and remember, what was my first degree in and what did I do? I was an HR manager. Yep. So I understand the HR manager. I understand the broker side. Todd Dulesky was, at that time, my manager, came to me and said, hey, I think you'd be great on the group side. That was 22 years ago. And I'm still here. And a lot of changes. And I'm the only one left as Mutual of Omaha, and Scott Alt has transformed our company to what we are. And his first hire was Ryan Rutherford.
Really?
Yeah.
That's super interesting. I would also think that in addition to Erin having patience as one of her key characteristics,
kindness,
patience and kindness,
grace, forgiveness.
I'm just saying,
yeah,
it might be that some of your managers at Mutual of Omaha have had the same characteristics as you've carried on with in your career.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes the leash has to be tightened a little.
Okay, so we've talked about really a very abbreviated version of your upbringing. We talked about how you got into benefits. We talked a little bit about, leading up to our relationship and the creation of True. So now today,
okay,
you're married.
Yeah.
Father of 2 beautiful girls.
Yeah.
One of the, I don't want to stroke your ego. You're one of the best group reps in the country, no matter the carrier, not just Mutual of Omaha, but really.
Well, thank you.
You're at the top of your game, really.
Okay.
What brings you joy? Like if you think around the things like
work or personal?
Both.
Okay.
Let's just start with whatever comes to mind first. Like, what brings you joy?
My wife and daughters bring me joy. Seeing them happy, and the support that they give. Knowing like, hey, I'm going to Guntersville. Where's Guntersville?
Right.
Well, why are we here? Why are we doing these things? But knowing that that's why I do what I do, to be able to help them, and then that just goes over to helping the broker. And it sounds corny, cliche, whatever, but like the broker doesn't really need Chris Watt. They have a marketplace that they can go do all these things. So what can I do to separate myself, to be likable, to be enjoyable? And doing those activities, doing the trip you and I did that I forgot that you were on, but doing those type things, I think being a friend to someone.
So let me dig into that.
Being loyal, being all those things really helps me win.
So we've never talked about this. I think we might share this because sometimes your biggest strength is your biggest weakness. Are there's parallels?
Yeah.
So do you find yourself wanting to please people too much sometimes, including your family?
Yep. I'm words of affirmation. That keeps me going. That's the love languages and all that.
It's mine too, bro.
Okay. Well, come on, homie. That's why we get along so well. But it's words of affirmation. So like, if I was ever to be rep of the year, or those things fuel me to keep going, knowing that it's fueling me. But like what I really like to do is help other people. And I think if your heart's in the right place, you're going to be okay. The other stuff will follow. So if I'm open and honest and my heart's in the right place with you and I's relationship, with whoever it is, they know I'm really going to take care of it, because I think we talked about this the other day. I think our society is addicted to urgency. And I want to be there for those people and help them, because the product's the product, the this is the that. But like, hey man, I need you. I got a text from one of my good friends and broker, Jeff Moore, saying, hey, I told him, hey, I'm going to be doing something. And he's like, well, win is something.
Right.
Right? Like knowing that we're working on something and we need to close it and get on it is a friend.
Yeah.
Like I would help you as a friend. Like probably don't need my help on certain areas, but if you needed me and you said I need you, I'd come here.
Yeah.
Right? For my brokers too, like that, and they know that.
When you, in your personal life, not family, not work, let's fast forward 10 years and you're retired. I'm just making this up.
Okay.
What are you going to be doing then that brings you joy? Like just what brings you, when you think about it, like, well, that just makes me happy.
Golfing. Right? But being able to share memories with my family, and I'm not always the best person because I'm trying to juggle. We're on a vacation, and I think what was your question yesterday on the other podcast about if you could only have one thing?
Right.
I'm addicted to my phone.
Right.
In a bad way, and I need to unleash and get away from that to be in those moments, to be there, to be present.
Yeah.
Because when I am, we have a great time. The Savannah Banana game, the
Right.
whatever, right? But I think that's a strength because when I'm in.
It's interesting. So earlier you said, as a society, we seem to be addicted to urgency.
Yeah.
Maybe not how you said it, but
It is.
yeah. So, and you would also be addicted to urgency because you want to respond right away.
Yeah. And it gets me in trouble sometimes. So I've learned from some of my other mentors to listen, and you can still be responsive, but I'm assuming they want the information like I would want to give it to them, and not like, we need a copy of the life booklet. Oh, I'm having dinner with my wife and kids. Do I need to give them the life booklet right now? Or can it wait till tomorrow morning?
I don't know if you do that. We're getting deep now. We're going to close with sort of deep and philosophical stuff for some reason.
That's fine. It's interesting because, I don't look like a philosopher. But maybe if I change my name to RC with the right hat, I could be a philosopher.
You really could.
Because I do like to tell stories.
So this is what I was thinking. The urgency, addicted to your phone, anticipating what people want. I'm going to go deeper into that anticipation. In my life, what gets me in trouble, even in personal relationships, is I will anticipate even how that person is going to take something, and then I'll react before, just because I'm assuming that's the way they're going to anticipate. Personal life, kids, Val.
Yep.
And I'll almost react in a way before I know what the situation is. It carries over into work too. I might escalate something in my mind before it's like, it's really not a problem. I've made it the problem because I'm anticipating because I want to please people.
Yep. Totally agree with you.
And there's so many situations very recently where I'm presented with a situation. I get worked up about it. I want to solve the thing I'm worked up about.
As a man, you want to solve problems.
I don't think it's a man thing. It could be, but I think
a lot of it is.
But there's just a personality trait thing.
Yeah, it is. But a lot of in relationships, if you're a problem solver, I want to solve your problem, but all you were supposed to do is listen.
So I'm going to go back to the people pleasing, not a problem solver, because I think that's an excuse to say we're trying to. I think this is a flaw in character.
Okay.
Not character, a flaw in personality.
Okay.
This is just for me. This might not carry over to you, but it might help a listener. You never know. So I'm faced with a situation. My initial reaction is, oh no. Well, I know where that's going. It's almost subconsciously. That's not good. I work myself up about it, and I want to attack the problem that I assume is there based upon the information I have. What actually happens is, if I slow down, give it a day, go to that person and say, explain to me what you meant by that. Give me some more information. How do we solve the problem? This happened very recently. And the problem that I thought was not what they were trying to sort of get to. So I worked myself up around something. It wasn't even real. Instead of approaching that person and going, hey, how do we solve this together? But I think that the reason I'm saying this is I think that comes from a people-pleasing place.
Agree 100% with what you're saying and the way it affects relationships in a positive or negative way. But I think yesterday, what did we say? Or I'm not a philosopher, but like you've got 2 ears and one mouth for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. And like once all that information gets inside your head, like you're ready to like spew it out. When really, what did you just say? You waited, then you asked questions. You were empathetic of the situation, and it all worked out on your stress level, on your other stuff too. So like for your health and the other person, the bond, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I think you and I have talked about being authentic and being yourself in all your situations. And the quicker you can become that, the better off you're going to be. That's great. But then you're still yourself, but you're a different role for the person you're talking to at different times. Like I'm not your business mentor, nor should I be. Right? But you could talk to me about other stuff.
Sure.
And learn and stuff.
Oh, we've all got
but
things to give. Speaking of being yourself, let's go to some more pictures, Britt.
Oh boy, here we go.
One of the successes of the Mutual of Omaha relationship has been you being present at events.
Love them.
And it's really not a true event if Chris Watt's not there. There's something missing if you're not at an event.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And by the way, I was honored to be the first strategic partner with the Las Vegas hat on.
Right. So this is probably 2018, I bet.
Yeah.
At a True Learning Academy.
Yep.
What were we doing? Why did you have a loss? Do you remember? Were you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, you were doing
cards.
You were playing card tricks or playing games?
Well, remember, I was
playing blackjack.
I wanted them to come to the booth.
Yes.
When you came, you got a card.
Right.
Whatever your card was, that the next day you then had to come back and try to make a blackjack, and the winners got Omaha Steak certificates.
Right.
Shout out Omaha Steaks, great company.
Right.
Loved it. But and so I had the table, the felt table, I had the big cards, I had the hat on because I wanted to get their attention to come back and do it.
Right. You know, we talked
Actually,
about
a lot more people got blackjack than I was.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So this is something, and we're going to wrap up here. We talked about this yesterday too, around the ability to be yourself. So you have that's why you're a 1% rep. You have the ability to be engaging and likable and attract attention and be fun.
Yeah.
And you have the ability to say, hey, let me dig into this case and work on it for you. Right?
Yeah.
Some people have either or. Very few people have both. And then even fewer have sort of the outrageous gregariousness that you have, right?
Yeah. Which can also, remember, blessing, curse.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about the blessing part.
Okay, love that. Love the blessing.
And so, there are some people who try. We've had a situation recently, we won't talk about names, where people see the true culture, they see the fun, and they're like, oh, I want to be part of that. And they try to do it, and it's not them. They would be better served just to be their nerdy selves and get in the weeds and help people sell business.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Self-awareness is one of the hardest things.
It is.
Let's see another picture. So,
man, mystery. So, what was I doing here?
I have no idea. And that is I wish I could go back and be a fly on the wall and know who you're looking at and why, because that is a fantastic Chris Watt face. That is a fantastic face.
I don't know what what you talking about, Willis? Remember that?
I think that's I remember that. I think that's I don't know.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Do we have any more pictures, or is that it? That's it.
Well, right. A great one to end on.
Well, that is a great one to end on. And there are more, by the way. If we have you back on, then we will. There's a bunch of pictures of you at True events because you've been to a bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, I will say thank you so much for being on the podcast. Honored to do it. Love the partnership. Shout out to Britt for doing all this.
Yeah. Britt Burns, captain, producer.
Yes. Also a singer, songwriter.
Musician, artist.
I don't know where we're going with this, but
it's not a man of mystery. What is it? I'm looking for a certain
mystery.
He's not a man of mystery. It's a man of
many talents.
Yeah, but there's something else. I'll think of it by the time it's too late.
Okay, but listen, I really do love our friendship and the ability and the things that we do, and I'm just happy that True has been a success for you, and it's a success for me.
Well, it's a well, we've talked about it. I never could have imagined what it is today. It is not this without you. So, I'm eternally thankful.
Yes.
You don't have to make me crawl across broken glass.
Oh, yeah, don't.
But
do
if there's
that.
anything you need, you can always ask.
Love it.
Chris Watt, Super Trooper. Be careful driving back to it. Wait, what's the button?
The one plug. Do you want to hear
Yeah,
it?
let's do it.
Mutual of Omaha is easy to do business with.
That's the perfect amount of cheesiness.
Drop the mic.
See you, bud.
See ya.
Hands up, heads down, shake it on.